Hello there, and thank you so much for clicking on this video and for being here. Welcome to my presentation on exploring the effects of cultural dimensions on therapy satisfaction among UK university students. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Alicia. I'm currently an MSc Counselling student at Bangor University. I'm soon going to be graduating. I'm also a trainee counsellor volunteering with NHS Wellness Services at Betsy in Clanfafecken. I'm volunteering online with Stockport Community Counselling. I'm originally from India, from a small city called Shillong. I'm an international student in the UK. I've had the pleasure of collaborating on this research with Adeline, Zenober, Alyssa, Sabrina, and Irina. As someone deeply passionate about making mental health care more inclusive, I'm thrilled to share with you this project. Here's a quick overview of what I'll be covering in this presentation. I'll begin by explaining why the study matters, followed by some background literature and key definitions. I'll share my research question and hypothesis. Then I'll walk you through the methods I used, the results I found, and the key points from the discussion. I'll also touch on the study's limitation, suggest direction for future research, and before wrapping up with references. Why does this study matter? Imagine in a UK university campus, vibrant and diverse, with students from all over the world, Asia, Africa, Europe, and beyond. Each brings their own cultural values, beliefs, and ways of seeing the world. Yet, a 2022 survey by Student Minds found that 57% of UK university students reported experiencing mental health issues. Despite this, many don't seek help, often because of cultural mismatches in therapy. That's a significant concern. This is where my study comes in. There's a clear gap in research. Not enough is known about how cultural dimensions impact therapy satisfaction among university students, even though they face unique pressures like academic stress, homesickness, cultural adjustments. By exploring this, we can move forward towards more inclusive and culturally responsive therapy. This means maybe being better equipped to support diverse clients, maybe even reducing dropouts, and ultimately improving students' well-being. Here are some background literature and key definition from this study. First, culture affects how people think about mental health, how they ask for help, and how they feel in therapy. Literature also says that people from different cultures have different views on what makes therapy works. For example, in some cultures, people want to feel more independent. In others, people want to fix family or group problems. This is especially true for university students. They face a lot of stress, like academic pressure, making new friends, or being far away from home. These challenges can affect their mental health. Now, let's define the key definitions from the study. Therapy satisfaction means how happy a client is with therapy, how they feel about the therapist, the process, and the results. When clients are more satisfied, they're more likely to keep going and improve. Singers and colleagues in 1995 divided cultural dimensions into four types: horizontal individualism, that is HI. They value being unique and independent. Vertical individualism, that is VI. They emphasized in achievement and competition. Horizontal collectivism, HC, prioritize cooperation and group harmony. Vertical collectivism, VC focuses on duty and loyalty to hierarchy groups. These help explain how people from different backgrounds experience therapy in different ways. The main question I explored in the study was how cultural values, specifically individualism and collectivism, affects therapy satisfaction among UK university students. This is important because there is clearly a gap in literature. We often don't look closely at how cultural backgrounds influences whether students feel therapy is helpful. My study hopes to support more inclusive, culturally aware practices for students from all backgrounds. Now, my hypothesis: students with individualistic values, those who value independence and growth, would report higher satisfaction with therapy. That's because therapy in Western settings often focuses on self exploration and autonomy. On the other hand, student with collectivistic values who focuses on more family duty and group harmony might feel less satisfied with therapy if this doesn't match their expectations or cultural norms, then therapy might not work for them. This idea is based on the earlier work showing that Western therapy is built around personal freedom and self direction, which might not fit well with more collectivistic ways of thinking. This study used a non experimental correlation design aiming to examine the relationship between cultural orientation and therapy satisfaction. There was no manipulation or grouping, just an exploration of natural association. A total of 130 participants initially responded to the survey. However, the final sample included 82 UK university students. Participants who were ineligible or provided incomplete responses were excluded. All participants had prior experiences with therapy and they represented a broad age range with a mean age of 27. Therapy satisfaction was assessed with the satisfaction with therapy and therapist scale revised, a 12-item question rated on a 5-point Likert scale. Cultural orientation was measured using the individualism and collectivism scale by Trandis and Gilfant, which included 4 sub-scales: horizontal individualism, vertical individualism, horizontal collectivism, and vertical collectivism. The study was conducted entirely online, with participants completing a digital consent form, demographic questionnaire, both questionnaires, and a debriefing. The full process took approximately 30 minutes, and a Welsh language version was also provided for inclusivity. Ethics approval was granted by Bangor University School of Psychology Ethics Committee. Participants were fully informed about the study, assured of their anonymity, given the right to withdraw at any time, and I provided a mental health support resource upon completion. Here are the key findings from my study. First, looking at the descriptive statistics, the average therapy satisfaction score was about 47.8 out of 60, which suggests a moderate to high level of satisfaction overall. For cultural value, the highest average score was horizontal individualism, followed closely by horizontal collectivism. I then looked at correlation to see how each cultural dimension was related to therapy satisfaction. Vertical individualism showed a positive relationship, meaning students who valued achievement and personal success tended to report higher therapy satisfaction. Horizontal individualism and horizontal collectivism both showed weaker positive relationship. also supported satisfaction, but not as strongly. Vertical collectivism, which focuses on duty and hierarchy, had a weak negative correlation, suggesting it might slightly reduce satisfaction with therapy. Then I ran a regression analysis to see which value could actually predict therapy satisfaction. The overall model was statistically significant, meaning the cultural dimension together help explain differences in satisfaction level. Vertical individualism and horizontal collectivism were both positive predictors. They increased therapy satisfaction. Vertical collectivism came out as a negative predictor, meaning students high in this value were more likely to feel less satisfaction. Horizontal individualism, however, was not a significant predictor in the regression model. So the top graph on the right shows these results virtually. You can see that horizontal collectivism had the strongest positive effect, while vertical collectivism had a negative impact. The second chart below shows the mean score, giving you a quick look at how therapy satisfaction compared to each cultural value across participants. Let's take a moment to reflect on what the statistics really mean. So the key findings were explained thoroughly on the results section. So now let's see how we can interpret that. Students who scored high in vertical individualism may have felt more aligned with therapy's goal settings and success-focused structure. Those high in horizontal collectivism likely appreciated therapy's collaboration nature. Meanwhile, students with stronger vertical collectivism may have felt a mismatch with therapy's individual focused style, which could explain lower satisfaction. What does this mean for therapists? Even though therapy is designed to be non-judgmental and inclusive, we can improve outcomes by tailoring the approach. So, for example, students with achievement values, we can set clear and structured goal like let's improve your confidence. For those with cooperative values, it may help to use more collaboration language like let's work on this together. For duty focused clients, it's important to create a space where they can step out of the hierarchy and feel the focus on themselves. For example, saying, "This is your time." And finally, the main contribution of the study, it challenges the idea that Western therapy only works well for individualistic clients. These results supports the idea that therapy can be inclusive and effective across cultures if we adjust our approach to meet clients where they are. Like all research, this study had its own limitations. Firstly, I use a self-reported questionnaire, which means there's a risk of biases. Participants might have answered in socially desirable ways, possibly inflating satisfaction scores. Secondly, the sample only included university students, which might have limited my findings. Thirdly, there was no significant information on the type or length of therapy participants receive or the cultural backgrounds of the therapists. This missing data could have affected the results. Finally, the sample included students from a wide range of cultural backgrounds, such as Malaysian, Chinese, which may have diluted some of the effects due to acculturation. Looking ahead, there are some great directions for future research. One idea is to study therapist-client cultural matching to see if cultural alignment leads to higher satisfaction. Another is to explore how different therapy types or duration, like CBT versus narrative therapy or short term version or long term version approach, affects students from different cultural backgrounds. Using mixed methods like interview could have helped capture rich qualitative experiences of culture in therapy. And finally, it would be valued to include broader population such as the working adults to see if the findings apply beyond university students. And here is the reference list. Please feel free to pause here and have a look. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation and watching this video. I'd like to leave you with two quotes that truly captures the heart of this work. Culture is not a barrier to care, it's a doorway to understanding. When we listen with curiosity, we hear not just stories, but the system, beliefs, and worlds behind them. Thank you once again for your time. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below.